Welcome to the deep dive. You send us the sources, and we dig in and pull out what you need to know. Efficiently, effectively.
And today, we're looking at a real classic, aren't we?
We are. Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. The listener wants the core ideas, fast, without getting overwhelmed.
Which makes sense.
There you
It's
go.
all about connecting better, right? A
Sure.
goal lots of us share.
Exactly. And it's kind of amazing how this book has lasted.
Oh, absolutely. Published back in 1937, small print run initially.
Right. And then, boom,
Huge international bestseller, translated everywhere, still feels relevant today.
it really does. Carnegie himself, he had that quote, didn't he, about making $1 million being easier than getting a phrase into the language.
Yeah, and that title, How to Win Friends and Influence People, it definitely stuck. It's like shorthand now.
It really is.
And what's interesting is the foundation he built it on. It wasn't just his, gut feeling.
Now, there was actual research, that big survey, University of Chicago.
And the United YMCA schools, yeah. A 2-year study back in the 30s.
What did they find?
Well, they found adults were really interested in two main things. Health
Okay, that makes sense.
and people, understanding them, getting along with them, influencing them.
Right, the human connection stuff.
Exactly. But here's the thing the survey highlighted.
What's that?
There just wasn't a good practical textbook on that second bit, on the people skills.
Ah, so that was the gap Carnegie saw.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And he filled it by talking to, well, all sorts of successful people. Inventors like Marconi, Edison,
Leaders like FDR, big business names.
Owen D. Young, even movie stars like Clark Gable. He wanted to know how they did it.
And then he tested it all out in his adult education courses for years.
Right. So it's not just theory. It's distilled from observation and real-world practice.
So this deep dive, we're basically getting the highlights, the core principles from all that work. A shortcut? Kinda.
That's the plan. A streamlined way into these timeless ideas. Ready for the first one?
Let's do it.
Well.
Okay, principle 1. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain.
And he starts with that great analogy.
If you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive. Pretty clear.
Very clear. And he gives some pretty intense examples right away, like Two-Gun Crowley.
The cop killer? Yeah, I remember reading that bit.
Even when he was, facing execution, he didn't blame himself.
He thought he was defending himself.
Exactly. And Carnegie connected that to Al Capone, too. Capone felt he was just a public benefactor getting a raw deal.
It's wild, that level of self-justification.
He really is. But it's not just criminals, right? He mentions John Wanamaker.
The department store guy.
Yeah. Took him 30 years to figure out that scolding employees was basically pointless.
Because he had his own faults to worry about. It points to that inherent bias we have, doesn't it? To see ourselves favorably.
Absolutely. And recognizing that bias in ourselves and others, that's kind of step one.
Yes.
And think about bigger scandals like Teapot Dome.
Right, the oil scandal.
Even the people involved, like Secretary Fall, they rarely saw themselves as the bad guys. They thought they were doing the right thing, from their perspective. Self-justification is everywhere.
So how do you overcome that urge to criticize? Lincoln's an interesting case here.
Oh, definitely. Early Lincoln, he could be really harsh. Wrote letters that apparently caused real offense, lasting resentment.
But he changed.
He did. He developed incredible self-restraint. That famous unmailed letter to General Meade after Gettysburg.
Yeah, he was furious. Meade didn't chase Lee's army.
Absolutely furious. Wrote this stinging letter and then just didn't send it.
Why not?
Well, Carnegie suggests he realized it wouldn't actually do any good. Criticizing Meade wouldn't change the past, might just create bitterness. He understood the human reaction.
That's real emotional intelligence kicking in.
It is. And then there's that poem Carnegie includes, Father Forgets.
Oh, that's powerful. W. Livingston Larned.
Yeah, this father looking back with so much regret at just constantly finding fault with his kid, realizing it too late.
Hits hard. It really shows the damage criticism can do instead of, trying to understand.
Exactly. So that first principle, it really sets the stage, doesn't it, for building better relationships.
It does, which leads nicely into principle 2. Give honest and sincere appreciation.
Right. And Carnegie's core idea here is, well, the only way to get someone to do anything is to make them want to do it.
Tapping into that fundamental human need. He mentions Freud's desire to be great, Dewey's desire to be important.
It's about feeling valued, significant, not just, a means to an end.
The opposite is that story about dear Uncle Andrew and the money he forgot.
Oh, yeah. That request just fell flat, didn't it? Because there was no real interest, no appreciation shown, just a demand.
People see right through that transactional stuff.
They do. Compare that to Stan Novak getting his son Tim excited about kindergarten.
Right. Tim didn't want to go.
So instead of forcing him, Stan and his wife thought, okay, what does Tim want? They focused on the fun stuff, made it sound exciting.
And it worked. He wanted to go.
It's about seeing things from the other person's angle. Henry Ford's quote comes to mind.
Oh, the one about the secret of success.
Yeah. If there is any one secret, it lies in the ability to get the other person's point of view and see things from that person's angle as well as from your own.
Sounds simple, but it's hard to do consistently.
It really is. Carnegie gives those examples of awful advertising letters.
Oh, the ones that are all me, me, me. Buy our stuff because we want you
It's
to.
totally ineffective because they ignore the recipient's interests.
Contrast that with the freight terminal superintendent. His first letter was all about his company's problems.
Right. Which the recipient, Mr. Vermeulen, probably didn't care much about.
But the revised letter.
Totally different. It framed cooperation in terms of benefits for Vermeulen. Faster unloading, guaranteed shipments for his company. That worked.
It's showing them what's in it for them, but genuinely.
That's the key. Like Barbara Anderson's job application letters to the banks in Phoenix.
Instead of, I need a job, it was, here's how I can help you.
And she got interviews from almost all of them. 11 out of 12.
Wow. It shows the power of focusing on the other person's needs and perspective.
Owen D. Young said something like, people who can do that, who can get inside others' minds, they'll never have to worry about the future.
And it's not manipulation, is it? Carnegie stresses it should be win-win.
Absolutely. Mutually beneficial, like the revised letter, like Barbara getting job offers. Both sides gain.
You see it with kids, too. The underweight boy who wouldn't eat.
Until the parents stopped nagging and focused on what he wanted.
Or K.T. Dutchman letting his little daughter help make breakfast.
Made her feel grown up, involved. Suddenly, she wanted to eat it.
It taps into that core truth. People are mostly interested in themselves.
That phone company study is telling, isn't it? The most used word, I.
Guilty as charged. And we all look for ourselves first in group photos, right?
We do. Alfred Adler warned about the problems faced by people not interested in others. It isolates you.
Whereas genuine interest, that's powerful. Like Theodore Roosevelt and the Bob White story.
Oh, I love that one. Taking the time to show his valet's wife the bird she was curious about.
It's those small, sincere things.
They build a real connection, like the letters asking authors for help with the writing course, showing interest in their work.
Or Mrs. Rosedale staying loyal to her bank because someone simply asked about her mother. It shows they care.
And C.M. Naffel trying to sell fuel, getting nowhere.
Until he stopped selling and asked the executive for help with a debate topic. Totally changed the dynamic.
Focused on the other guy's interests and needs.
And that Thanksgiving story, the student nurse.
Just showing some genuine care to a lonely patient made all the difference.
It really hammers home Carnegie's point for this principle. Become genuinely interested in other people.
Which flows right into principle 3, smile.
Seems almost too simple, doesn't it?
Maybe, but he means a real smile, heartfelt, not fake.
Right. Professor McConnell's point, smiling people are just more effective. Managing, teaching, selling.
Even raising happier kids, apparently. A smile sends a positive signal.
And that department store manager who'd hire a smiling clerk over a gloomy PhD.
It shows how much we value that warmth, doesn't it? Even over qualifications sometimes.
And it works over the phone, too. That phone power idea.
Yeah, you can hear a smile in someone's voice, like the job applicant choosing the company where the manager sounded happy to talk to him.
Makes sense. You want to work with positive people.
And William Steinhardt's story. Consciously deciding to smile more at his wife, at colleagues.
And it actually changed his mood and improved his relationships.
It did. Carnegie even suggests that acting happy, like forcing a smile, can actually make you feel happier. Mind over matter, sort of.
Thought is supreme.
There's that old Chinese proverb, too.
A man without a smiling face must not open a shop. Sums it up perfectly.
It really does. A smile is like a messenger of goodwill. That store's value of a smile at Christmas description was lovely, too. Costs nothing. Gives so much.
Okay, principle 4. This one feels crucial. Remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language.
Absolutely fundamental. Forgetting it or misspelling it, it sends a bad signal.
Remembering it, though, that makes people feel seen. like Jim Farley.
Oh, FDR's campaign manager. He supposedly knew 50,000 names.
50,000. Imagine the impact that had.
Huge. It helped get Roosevelt elected. People felt personally connected.
And Andrew Carnegie using Pullman's name in the company title during that merger.
Smart move. Made Pullman feel respected, important, smoothed the deal.
FDR himself was apparently brilliant at this, remembering that mechanic's name.
After just a brief meeting, it makes people feel incredibly valued.
That political saying captures it. To recall a voter's name is statesmanship. To forget it is oblivion.
It really matters. And it takes effort, right? Napoleon III had a whole system.
Asking for spelling, repeating it, writing it down.
Yeah, you have to consciously work at it, but the payoff is huge.
Even in small interactions, like Ken Nottingham in the cafeteria.
Just using the server's name, Eunice. And suddenly, better service, a friendlier vibe.
Because her name is hers. It singles her out, makes her feel like an individual, not just, staff.
Exactly. It's about acknowledging their unique identity.
Okay, principle 5. Be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves.
This builds right on showing genuine interest, doesn't it?
It does. If you're interested, you listen.
That anecdote about the dinner party guest who barely spoke.
But listened intently to a botanist.
Yeah, and the botanist later called him a fascinating conversationalist, just because he listened well.
It's so flattering when someone really listens. Charles W. Eliot, the Harvard president, said that exclusive attention.
It's very important. Nothing else is so flattering. And people noticed his listening style. Henry James described it vividly.
It's active, engaged listening, not just waiting for your turn to talk.
And it can solve problems. Like Mr. Detmer with that angry customer who owed money.
Instead of arguing, Detmer just listened. Let the guy vent.
Patiently. And what happened? The customer calmed down, paid his bill.
And even gave Detmer a bigger order. And became a loyal customer. All from listening.
It's incredibly powerful. Think about that Western Union kid.
Who educated himself by writing to famous people.
Yeah, basically asking them to tell him about themselves, about their lives. He listened through their letters.
What a way to learn. Even Freud apparently was an amazing listener.
That description of his attention, concentrated, appreciative, made people feel deeply understood.
And the flip side, Dr. Nicholas Murray Butler calling people who only talk about themselves hopelessly uneducated. Ouch.
A bit harsh, maybe, but it makes the point. True conversation involves listening.
So the advice is, ask questions people enjoy answering. Encourage them to talk about their wins, their experiences.
Because let's face it, people are usually way more interested in their own stuff than in yours.
That salesman trying to sell bread.
Getting nowhere until he asked the hotel steward about his interests, his life. Then he got the order.
Or Edward Harriman needing that interview with the hard-to-reach R.J. Funkhauser.
Showing genuine interest in Funkhauser's career story. Open the door.
And the teacher, Mr. Rowland, with the quiet student, Chris.
Seeing something in him, acknowledging his importance, offering him a chance in the advanced class. That kind of listening, seeing potential, can be life-changing.
Definitely. Which brings us to principle 6. Talk in terms of the other person's interests.
It's closely related to the last few, isn't it? Connecting what you want to talk about with what they care about.
Right. Back to making them want to engage. Like that little boy who only wanted to talk about boats.
You gotta meet people where they are, right? Find that common ground related to their passions.
And that salesman who chased a business owner for 4 years.
4 years, getting absolutely nowhere.
Until he finally started talking about what the owner was actually interested in his own business, his collection.
And bam, suddenly he gets invited in, gets the order. It's about shifting focus.
So the advice is simple but powerful. Talk in terms of the other person's interests.
It just works.
Okay, last one for today. Principle 7. Make the other person feel important and do it sincerely.
This feels like a big one. Kind of pulls together a lot of the other ideas.
It does. And that sincerity part is crucial, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. People can smell fake flattery a mile off. It has to be genuine.
Like the lawyer in Connecticut admiring his aunt's house and antiques.
He genuinely appreciated them. And because of that sincere appreciation,
She ended up giving him her Packard
yeah.
because he appreciated beautiful things. Amazing.
For James Adamson landing that huge order from George Eastman.
By admiring Eastman's office.
And his philanthropic work. Yeah, again, sincere admiration, not just sucking up. It made Eastman feel understood and valued.
It works in management, too. Claude Murray, the restaurant owner.
Saving that key employee from quitting just by taking the time to tell her how important she was to the restaurant.
Made her feel valued, needed. William James said we only use a tiny bit of our potential.
And that sincere praise can unlock those hidden abilities. It gives people confidence.
Like Marie the dishwasher. That story is incredible.
Just being told she had unseen pressures within her, it completely changed her self-perception, how she carried herself.
It shows the power of belief, doesn't it? Believing in someone's potential.
Definitely. And acknowledging when you're wrong, respecting the other person's viewpoint, like that salesman who regained the customer's trust.
By admitting his oversight and valuing the customer's willingness to listen, that makes the customer feel important and respected.
And giving someone a reputation to live up to, Dr. Fitzhugh and his charwoman.
Telling her she was known for keeping things spotless, and she rose to the occasion.
It sets a positive expectation. People often try to meet the expectations others have of them, especially positive ones.
The dancing class stories show that too. Praising tiny improvements.
Making it seem easy. It encourages people, even if they aren't naturals.
And Ely Culbertson, the bridge expert. His whole career started from a compliment about his flair for the game.
It sparked something in him, made him feel capable.
Even with kids in schoolwork. That dad helping his son with math.
Making a huge fuss over every right answer, focusing on progress, built the kids' confidence.
It's about positive reinforcement, making them feel competent and important.
Even Colonel House subtly guiding William Jennings Bryan away from a task.
By suggesting it was beneath Bryan's importance. Clever framing.
It tapped into that desire to feel significant, just like Napoleon using titles and medals.
People crave recognition.
They do. And Mrs. Gent stopping the kids trespassing on her lawn.
By making the ringleader her detective. Brilliant. Gave him status, responsibility.
Turned him from a problem into a solution by making him feel important.
And finally, just how you ask someone to do something. Not just an order, but explaining why it's important, how their contribution matters.
Makes them feel valued, not just ordered around. So yeah, that principle racks it up. Make the other person feel important and do it sincerely.
So there we have it. The first, 7 core principles from Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. They seem simple on the surface, maybe?
Maybe, but as all those stories show, actually applying them consistently, that's where the power lies. They really offer deep insights into, just how people tick.
A practical roadmap for building better connections, influencing people in a positive way.
And we've really only scratched the surface here. This is just the beginning of the book. There's much more wisdom packed in there.
Absolutely. These first 7 really lay that groundwork for more effective, more meaningful interactions.
We definitely encourage you to think about how these ideas connect with your own life, your own interactions.
Maybe even check out the full book if you want to go deeper.
And here's something to chew on. Which one of these 7 principles do you think would be the hardest for you to put into practice regularly, and why?
That's a great question. Think about focusing just on that one principle this week. How might that change things in your conversations, in your relationships?